Good morning, everyone. Can someone tell me whether my voice is clear? And is this screen clearly visible to all of you? Okay, so welcome to today's session. Okay, so we'll continue our current affairs series, and today we'll be doing 7th Feb current affairs. Okay, so this will be a short video, and let's cover each and every important news that is there. And in today's current affairs, most of the data that you will be finding over here that we will be talking about, okay, you can utilize it. Almost all of the data that will be talked about here, okay, you can all use that data into your descriptive answers. Okay, so pick up the topic as I've told you in the yesterday's session also, that try to relate to whatever topic these data or this news you can relate. Okay, and this becomes fodder point or whatever you call it as a value addition points also. Okay, so let's continue. So this is the first news with respect to number of farmers enrolled in Pradhan Mantri Kissan Mandhan Yojana. Okay, so it's all of you know, it's a pension scheme. Just like how Atal Pension Yojana is specifically dedicated to unorganized sector workers. Okay, so similarly in the similar framework, for unorganized workers, there also was specifically that Shram Yogi Mandhan Yojana, which were, catered to laborers. But if you focus on farmers, we also wanted to provide social security net to the farmers also. So the government came up with this scheme, which is Pradhan Mantri Kissan Mandhan Yojana. And all those benefits that are usually associated with a pension scheme are all provided under this. So farmers will be getting minimum assured pension of rupees 3,000, okay, on attaining the age of 60 years. So such type of social security net is being usually provided under PM Kissan Mandhan Yojana, and obviously they have to do contribution starting from age 18 to 40 years. This is the eligibility criteria. So until this much age they have to contribute, or they can join the scheme and contribute until 60 years of age, and then they'll be getting the benefits. So this is a general brief about that scheme in particular, and through this, as all of you can understand, that farmers' income are anyway low in the country, and that too very much low of particularly small and marginal farmers. So providing such type of social security net in any ways provided them financial security, at least whenever they'll be retiring in a later stage. So we've seen theoretically how much important this scheme is, but if you see the statistic or the news which has come today, you will realize that even though it is too important for farmers, but there is no penetration of this scheme on the ground level. So the scheme says that farmers enrolled under this scheme since inception, which was 2019 when the scheme was launched, is only 23.38 lakh. Now if I ask you, can you guys tell me what's the count of small and marginal farmers in the country? Do you guys know about this? Does anyone know how many small and marginal farmers are there in the country? And you guys should know about this statistic, because this anyways you have to utilize in the exam. Anyone? Take a rough guess at least. नहीं rough guess ले लो. I'm not talking about the percentage. I'm talking about, so if we take an average of winners and someone also cost the, so roughly around 11 CR, or you can say 110 million households. So this data obviously is a old data which you can easily come up with. Agriculture household census, which was launched in 2015-16. तो वहां से एटलीस्ट आपको एक रफ आइडिया है कि 11 करोड़ के आसपास स्मॉल एंड मार्जिनल फार्मर्स आर देयर इन द कंट्री. एंड इफ यू सी द परसेंटेज ऑफ हाउ मेनी स्मॉल एंड मार्जिनल फार्मर्स आर देयर, you will get a percentage of around 85 to 87, but if you see the recent data, it's it has already reached up to 89%. So you can imagine that how within the whole farmers fraternity, how much small and marginal farmers are there. And if you see the definition point of view with respect to the land holding size of small and marginal farmers, so it is all the farmers who are having land up to 2 hectares. These are considered small and marginal farmers. So anyways, because of the reduced land holding size, their income is anyways restricted. Okay? If such things are not penetrated at the ground level, this will hamper them also. Now, since you have a rough idea of that how many farmers are there in context of small and marginal, and see the enrollment, 23.38 lakh, not even 1%. So while you are reading these statistics, always think of how can I utilize this statistic not only in argument but also in counter arguments too. Ki while through this scheme I can show the importance for the small and marginal farmers, but with the performance of this scheme I can also show that its penetration at the ground level is not good, and also it's almost like a non-existent scheme per se if you just see the percentage part of how much small and marginal farmers it has covered. Okay, so I hope I have provided to you various angles to look at any particular statistic. तो इसी मैनर में आप लोग हर एक स्टेटिस्टिक को देखा करिए. Is this clear to everyone? चलो, objective I've already told you, nodal ministry agriculture. So this is the news that we were discussing way back, okay, when we were discussing about a cancer drug that was previously in the news. So this I was talking to you about, that indigenous, in India a CAR T cell therapy has been developed, okay, and the first patient that went through this CAR T cell therapy is now cancer free. Okay, so this is a very big achievement in context of cancer cure. So for us, from the exam perspective of banking examination as well as regulatory body examination, the most important thing that you need to remember is just the information only. ठीक है, आप अंदर CAR-T की mechanism समझने मत लग जाइए, civils का exam नहीं है, it's only regulatory body examination. So you just need the full form of CAR-T cell, chimeric antigen receptor T cell, okay, developed by IIT Bombay and Tata Memorial Center. ठीक है, first patient का नाम V.K. Gupta at Mumbai's Tata Memorial Hospital. ठीक है, and the therapy's name is NexCAR19. Next, now this is another data which I want you to explore through various perspectives. ठीक है, we'll relate 2 to 3 topics in there, and I'll just keep on asking you, and you just provide me what topics can we relate from it. ठीक है, and anyways there is so data on MGNREGA wages vis-a-vis inflation. So average wage rate was 207 in 2018-19, and it has grown to 259 in 23-24. And if you see the compounded average annual growth, it is just 4.5% in this period. But if I just ask you, can you guys tell me, if I put you into 2018 and if I put you into 2023-24, if I ask you how much do you think inflation has increased, so what rough figure can you tell me? I'm not talking about the compounded annual average growth, just give me a figure कि कोई बाइक अगर 2018 में आप खरीद रहे हो ठीक है, and same thing you are buying in 2023, how much cost difference will you find here? Take a rough guess. Yes, 30 to 40%, isn't it? और फिर यहां पे ग्रोथ देख लो आप. So the main thing is that these MGNREGA wages are not being increasing, as inflation is increasing. So what exactly is happening? The purchasing power parity of people who are getting MGNREGA wages are decreasing. And if we want to see the probable reason that because of which these wages are not growing, what do you think? What reasons can you attribute it? Yes, Vinay. That's why I gave the examples, because every one of you can relate when you can think about bikes and scooty. So what do you think? What could be the probable reason that wages are not growing as per the inflation also? देखो, wage growth आपको तब पता चलेगा, when there is a need to grow the wage. And MGNREGA wages are attached to which inflation metric? Can anybody tell? नहीं, profitable assets की बात तो है नहीं ना यार. It's not job dependent, it is scheme dependent wage. तो scheme में wage का definition and criteria is different. So this wage is attached to a inflation metric. What is that inflation metric? और allotment से भी कुछ नहीं होता ना. Allotment से क्या होगा? Allotment से ज्यादा नंबर ऑफ बेनिफिशियरीज कम हो जाएंगे, बट जितना मिनिमम वेज है वो तो आपको देना ही पड़ेगा ना. Allotment से थोड़ा कुछ होगा. वेज बढ़ेगी अगर आपका इन्फ्लेशन मेट्रिक बोलेगा कि वेज बढ़ाओ. So can you tell me what is the inflation metric that is attached to the wage? That means if this inflation has increased, then the wages should also be increased. मनरेगा में कौन सा CPI कनेक्टेड है? भाई CPI तो है. Which CPI? Combined Agricultural Labor. Yes, Kaustubh, correct. So CPI, agricultural labor, is attached to मनरेगा wages. ठीक है. अब इस एग्रीकल्चरल लेबर CPI में चेंजेस हो तब तो फिर इसमें चेंज होगा, है ना. कैन यू टेल मी एनी व्हाट्स द बेस ईयर फॉर दिस? नो, नॉट 2011. 2011 होता तो फिर तो कोई दिक्कत ही नहीं थी. ज्यादा डिफरेंस तो है नहीं. वी आर इन 2024. मैक्सिमम एक डेकेड का इशू है. और रूरल एरियाज में तो ज्यादा फिर चेंज होते भी नहीं है प्राइसेस. यू विल बी शॉक्ड टू सी दैट ऑलमोस्ट ऑल ऑफ द CPI बेस ईयर हैव बीन चेंज्ड एक्सेप्ट एग्रीकल्चरल लेबरर. ठीक है. इट्स ऑलमोस्ट 1986 इज द बेस ईयर. 90s में चले जाओ. अब 1986, अब एक बात बताओ यार, 1986 के प्राइसेस के हिसाब से आप कमोडिटीज, आपने कमोडिटीज 1986 के हिसाब से पिक करी. ठीक है, जिसके इन्फ्लेशन यू विल बी चेकिंग ईयर बाय ईयर एंड यू हैव स्टार्टेड विद 1986 बेस प्राइस. अब देखो इन्फ्लेशन भी, यू विल नॉट गेट द रियल सिचुएशन. एंड द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट, द कमोडिटीज विच यू हैव चोजन इन 1986, कंजम्पशन पैटर्न्स हैव आल्सो बीन चेंज्ड. ठीक है, basic essential items have also been changed. So this inflation metric is not providing you what's the reality should be. So similarly, just how industrial workers base year has been changed to 2016, similarly this must have been changed. ठीक है, तो फिर this point you should mention that we need to change agricultural laborer 1986 base year in order to properly provide the ground reality with respect to the basic essential items as well as their prices also. ठीक है, तो आई होप यू कैन रिलेट इट विद वेरियस इश्यूज. मनरेगा का सिंपल सा डेटा है और ये वेज रेट का डेटा आप लोग याद कर लेना. ठीक है, एंड यू शुड ऑल्सो टॉक अबाउट CPI-AL बेस ईयर हियर ऑल्सो. सच टाइप ऑफ पर्सपेक्टिव्स यू नीड टू बी अवेयर अबाउट. तो फिर एक जेनेरिक पॉइंट तो आ ही जाता है that increase in wage rate may be insufficient to meet the increase in cost of basic goods. Now the basic goods have also been changed since 1986. ठीक है, और ऊपर से इन बेसिक गुड्स का इन्फ्लेशन, तो कहाँ से आपको रियलिटी मिलेगी और कहाँ से फिर वेज रेट सही मिलेगा, है ना. नहीं मतलब इन्होंने कमीशन तो बिठाई थी, अब उसका कुछ आया नहीं रिजल्ट. ऐसा नहीं है कि चेंज नहीं कर रहे हैं, कमीशन तो बिठाई थी. एंड द कमीशन वाज दे वांटेड टू चेंज, बट इंडस्ट्रियल वर्कर्स का चेंज हो गया था. इन्हें लगा कि रूरल एरिया में इतना ज़्यादा डिफरेंस फर्क पड़ेगा नहीं, बट वेज रेट और इन्फ्लेशन में डाइकोटोमी देख के नाउ दे मस्ट बी रियलाइजिंग अबाउट दिस. अरे किन किन बातों के लिए प्रोटेस्ट करोगे. चलो लेट्स मूव ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट. Next is PM Kissan beneficiaries down 14% in financial year 24. Okay, तो PM Kissan के beneficiaries को identify करने के लिए, first of all land holding farmers are there. पहले केवल small and marginal farmers था, but at least eligibility में all land holding farmers है, but there is an exclusion criteria. If any farmer or any household comes under this exclusion criteria, तो फिर उसको ये 6,000 रुपीज़ मिलेंगे नहीं. तो exclusion criteria based on income, कि इनकम टैक्स भर रहे हैं तो नहीं मिलेगा. इफ दे आर कनेक्टेड विद MLA और द फैमिली हैव वन ऑफ द मेंबर एज ऑफिसर इन द गवर्नमेंट, ऑल दोस इंस्टीट्यूशनल लैंड होल्डर्स, उनको नहीं मिलेगा. सो देयर इज दिस exclusion criteria list. If any of the farmer from small and marginal farmer after increase in any of the criteria so that they land up in this exclusion criteria, तो उसके चक्कर में number of beneficiaries gets reduced. ठीक है, so that's why the beneficiaries have fallen 14% to 9.21 crores in 23-24, and the Punjab saw the maximum drop in beneficiaries, says the Agriculture Minister Arjun Munda. Now the most important thing, ये देखो important है, because any news related to flagship schemes आपको नोट डाउन करके रखनी है. आप स्कीम्स के लेक्चर्स देख ही रहो. ठीक है, अब मनरेगा का आया हुआ है, PM किसान का आया हुआ है, श्रम योगी मानधन का न्यूज आया हुआ है. प्लीज नोट डाउन ऑल दीज न्यूज अलॉन्ग साइड योर स्कीम्स डॉक्यूमेंट. ठीक है, दिस विल हेल्प. चलो next is average farmers income jumped 59% in 6 years until 2018-19. so it's not a news per se. ठीक है, ये बहुत पुरानी न्यूज है. एंड in 2018-19 NSSO which is now under NSO, ठीक है, it released situation assessment survey of agricultural households. तो वहां उन्होंने बताया था कि 2018-19 में if you identify average monthly income of farmers, especially small and marginal farmers, it is 10,000 218। ठीक है, तो बस आपके लिए ये इंफॉर्मेशन यू कैन यूटिलाइज इन वेरियस पॉइंट्स, स्पेशली इफ यू फोकसिंग अपॉन identifying that what's the income of small and marginal farmers is, how do you want to increase it, so what's the government target. तो ये इंफॉर्मेशन आपके पास एनीवेज होनी चाहिए, एंड इट्स द ऑफिशियल डेटा टू, और इसके बाद कोई डेटा आया नहीं अभी तक, सो दिस इज राइट नाउ द डेटा। ठीक है, नेक्स्ट इज रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया imposes 8.8 lakh rupees fine on PFC, which is Power Finance Corporation, for liquidity violation. ठीक है, तो पेनल्टी का अमाउंट याद कर लो, इट्स द PSU, किस PSU पे अटैक हुआ है उस पे याद कर लो, एंड देन द रीजन इज लिक्विडिटी वायलेशन। ठीक है, तो हुआ क्या, हर NBFC को लिक्विडिटी कवरेज रेशियो मेंटेन करके रखना होता है, विच इज अराउंड 60%। ठीक है, अब लिक्विडिटी कवरेज रेशियो क्या होता है, बेसिकली इफ यू वांट टू एक्सप्रेस इट इन टर्म्स ऑफ परसेंटेज, सो रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया सेज you should maintain highly liquid assets with yourself to pay your net cash outflow, especially during the time of stress. अब बेसिकली है क्या, मान लीजिए कोई ऐसी सब प्राइम क्राइसिस वाली न्यूज़ आ गई 2007-8 का, देखते हैं कि हर जगह मार्केट डाउन हो रही है, तो जितने भी लोन NBFCs को दे रखे हैं किसी ने, तो वो लोग भी अपना पैसा वापस मांगने की कोशिश करेंगे, बैंक रन लाइक सिचुएशन। ठीक है, तो एट इन दोज पर्टिकुलर सिचुएशंस a particular NBFC must have 60% highly liquid asset. 60% पैसा, 100 करोड़ की अगर आपकी आउटफ्लो है, जिसमें आपको सैलरी भी देनी है, जिसमें आपको डेट, शॉर्ट टर्म डेट रीपे करना है, ठीक है, आपके कोई कमिटमेंट या ऑब्लिगेशंस है, या फिर कोई श्योरिटी है दैट यू हैव टू पे एज एन NBFC, ठीक है, ये पैसा जा ही रहा है, तो इसमें से 60 करोड़ आपके पास हाईली लिक्विड एसेट्स में होना चाहिए, जिससे 60 करोड़ तो आप तुरंत दे सको। ओके, आई विल एक्सप्लेन इट इन इंग्लिश ऑल्सो, दैट इन NBFCs there is a provision for keeping 60% of the highly liquid assets with themselves, so that in case of emergency, okay, all the net cash outflow that they are obligated to provide to outer agencies, or even to that the company has to provide, these are at least they are met with 60% of these assets. So what's the issue that PFC did? So they included one asset into their liquidity coverage ratio. Okay, so let's assume 50 crore का asset था, 10 crore का, they've added one long term asset and counted it as a highly liquid asset. But this should not be there na, because highly liquid asset have short term liquidity, short term maturity. तो आपने लॉन्ग टर्म वाले को कैसे काउंट कर लिया 60% में? सो RBI says you will be penalized. देखो, केवल कैश नहीं होता, ट्रेजरी बिल्स भी हो गए बेसिकली, कि आप मेच्योरिटी, अब ये कितना 90 दिन वाली मेच्योरिटी होगी, टी बिल्स होगी, है ना, 14 दिन वाले मेच्योरिटी वाले बॉन्ड्स होते हैं, ऑल दोज थिंग्स। मतलब इफ यू वांट टू आइडेंटिफाई, जस्ट थिंक अबाउट इट, शॉर्ट टर्म विच यू कैन इजीली कन्वर्ट इट इनटू कैश। Next is notice under section 206 of Companies Act has been provided to Bharat Pay. Or section 206 of Companies Act is nothing but it says that registrar has the power to ask for any information regarding companies accounts or companies activities. ठीक है, तो on the basis of this power the registrar has sent notice to the Bharat Pay. Next is Tata Group, first in India to cross 30 trillion market cap. Okay, the market cap, as all of you know, shares into price, ठीक है, number of shares into price. So if you calculate each of Tata Group companies, ठीक है, for example Tata Motors, Tata Steel, Titan, है ना, and all those things, and if you calculate all of their market cap, it comes out to be 30 trillion. It's the first group in India to do so. Next is IRCTC launches Ramayana Circuit tourist train service. ठीक है, so basically IRCT is now launching a train service and it will be around 17 to 18 days. It will cover all the important regions that are, you know, relevant from with respect to Ramayana epic. ठीक है, so they'll go to Ayodhya, they'll go to, you know, even Rameshwaram also. ठीक है, next is new science research board comes into effect. ठीक है, so the previous board name Science and Engineering Research Board, this has been included in this newly created board, the name of which being Anusandhan National Research Foundation. ठीक है, ANRF. So you should be able to at least tell the full form of this ANRF, Anusandhan National Research Foundation, newly constituted research board in India. Okay, so the Abhay Karantikar is now the secretary or as the interim CEO of this body. ठीक है, so what's the purpose? It's a research funding organization that will have a corpus of 50,000 crores. Okay, and for it has contribution from private sector also. Next, if you want to go Iran for 15 days, good news, visa free it has become, and it's not like that you go by land. ठीक है, it's only by air if you go over there. बलूचिस्तान से क्रॉस करेंगे नहीं मिलेगा. Next, international. So countries led by Britain, France and US and technical firms like Google, Microsoft, Meta, they signed a joint statement with respect to, you know, taking action against spying tools. होते हैं ना, बहुत सारे एप्लीकेशंस होते हैं जो आपका कैमरा ऑन करके रख देते हैं, you know, या फिर वॉइस रिकॉर्डर ऑन करके रख देंगे. So the countries as well as these technical companies have taken an initiative with respect to, you know, tackling or, you know, eliminating these type of tools. Next, you know, CC Avenue and IDFC First Bank has signed an agreement with respect to providing extensive credit card EMI solutions to the bank customers nationwide. Then we have Venkatachalam appointed as Tata AIA Life MD as well as CEO. Then we have Ravi Kumar Jha appointed as MD and CEO of LIC Mutual Fund Asset Management Company. ठीक है, तो ये हो गया अपॉइंटमेंट्स का और ये हो गया 7th Feb का. So this is all for today and keep on revising these news on a daily basis. Compilation आ जाएंगी तो उसके बाद एक बार देख लेना. At least you will be having 2 revisions. Then after that, always try to utilize the data that is coming in this news, ठीक है, for your descriptive answers. तो चलो let's meet in the descriptive class. And thank you for joining, everyone.